History Lesson 7: Tribes, Nomads, and Settled Communities. During the medieval age, several social, economic, and political developments took place. But the social changes brought through these developments were not even throughout the continent. Since ancient times, the Indian system was divided on the principle of Varnas. The rulers of that time used to follow the rules laid down by Brahmins, who were placed at the upper rung in the caste system followed by the Hindus. This is the picture of the Varna division according to their work. During this time period, under the Delhi Sultanate and the Mughal rulers, the gap between rich and poor or various other social communities widened. Several new towns and cities emerged during this period. However, many other kinds of societies did not follow the rules laid down by the Brahmins. This included tribal and nomadic communities who followed their own customs and rituals. In simple words, tribes are communities of people who do not follow laid down norms of society. Members of each tribe is united by the bond of kinship. Most of the tribes are dependent on agriculture as their livelihood. Other commonly practiced occupations are herding or hunting. Usually, tribes use up the natural resources of the place where they live. Some are even nomadic and thus travels from one place to another. Let us see the picture of some of the tribal people. Usually tribes live in forests, hills, and in desert areas of the subcontinent. It is difficult for people to reach the interiors of the subcontinent. At times, there have been clashes between tribes and powerful caste-based societies on different issues like customs and rituals followed by the tribes. Tribes retained their independent identity and have preserved their own culture. At times, these caste-based societies are dependent on the tribes for their diverse needs. This relationship of dependency and conflict has continued between them for many years. Contemporary historians and travelers from medieval India hardly give any information about the tribes. The tribes hardly had any written records. Whatever we know about them is through their rich customs and oral traditions which passed on from one generation to another. Modern historians use contemporary oral tradition to write about tribal societies. The various tribes found at that time include the Koro chiefdom emerged in the 12th century in Bihar and Jharkhand, who were subdued by Akbar's general Raja Man Singh in 1591. Later, Aurangzeb subjected the tribe totally. The Balukis were powerful in the northwestern part of India and were divided into small clans. The Mundas and Santals were important tribes in Bihar, Orissa, and Bengal. In South India, there was a large tribal population of Koragas, Betars, and Marawars. The Gons tribe was found in the states of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Andhra Pradesh. The Lagans and Arguns were important in Multan and Sindh before they were captured by Mughals. The Kokar tribe was influential in Punjab in the 13th and 14th century. The Gagars, also of Punjab, became influential after their leader Kamal Khan Gagar became a Mansabdar under Akbar. Kolis and Birats were important tribes of Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Karnataka. The Bhils tribe was found in western and central parts of India. While few Bhils clans were hunter-gatherers, many of them became agriculturists and zamindars. The pastoral nomads moved from one place to another with their herd animals. They survived on milk products and exchanged ghee, wool, etc. with farmers for grains, cloth, utensils, etc. They bought and sold these goods and then moved from one place to another with their animals. Here is a picture of pastoral nomads with their herds of cattle. The most important trader nomads were Banjaras. Their caravan was called Tanda. Sultan Alauddin Khilji used Banjaras to move grain to city markets. The Mughal Emperor Jahangir wrote that Banjaras used to collect grains from different areas and sell it in towns. Banjaras even used to transport grains for Mughals during war with as many as 10,000 bullocks. They carried wheat, rice, even with their wives and children with them. Here is a picture of Banjaras. Pastoral tribes thus basically reared and sold animals like horses and cattle to prosperous people. Diverse caste of petty paddlers used to travel from one village to another. Pastoralists even sold wares like rope, seeds, straw, and coarse shacks. Mostly, mendicants acted as wandering merchants. There were even castes of entertainers performing in different towns for livelihood. Let us read about the characteristics of tribal society. Some tribal groups led a nomadic lifestyle as hunter-gatherers and animal herders. They reared animals such as cattle, goat, camel, or sheep, or horses for livelihood. Such nomadic pastoralists lived on milk and other products produced by their animals. They exchanged wool, ghee, etc. with people in towns and villages for grains, clothes, salt, utensils, etc. Certain pastoral tribes also used primitive technology to practice shifting cultivation. Economically, they were self-sufficient. The tribal groups were distinguished by their distinct lifestyle, customs, language, and culture and consciously preserved the same. Their political system was based upon family or kinship ties and was headed by the tribal chief. Here is a picture of shifting cultivation. Trees and bushes in a forest area are first cut and burnt. The crop is sown in the ashes. When this land loses its fertility, another plot of land is cleared and planted in the same way. The Gonds. They lived in a vast forested region called Gondwana or country inhabited by Gonds. They practiced shifting cultivation. The large Gond tribe was further divided into smaller clans. The Gonds led simple lives. They built houses and cattle shed of mud, timber, bamboo, and thatch. The village consisted of a headman and a council which upheld Gond customs. The large Gond tribe was divided into many clans, and each clan had its own Raja or Rai. The Gonds were divided into 4 sagas, each with its own deity and priest. They had a distinct group of gods and spirits whom they worshipped along with Hindu gods and goddesses. The Gonds worshipped a high god known as Parsapen, also referred to as Baradeo and Sri Shambhu Mahadev. The village priest known as Devari performed sacrifices and rituals for village festivals. Gonds mostly practiced farming or worked in the forest. Their staple food comprised 2 millets, known as khado and chutki. The vegetables were either collected from the forest or grown in the kitchen gardens. They gathered honey from the forest as well. Ahoms migrated to the Brahmaputra Valley from present-day Myanmar in the 13th century. They created a new state by suppressing the older political system of the Bhuyans. The Ahoms followed a centralized system of administration. The Ahom kings called Swargadeos, that is lords of heaven, divided their kingdom into provinces. Each province was kept under the control of a governor called Barbakhans. Wet rice cultivation was introduced by the Ahoms in Upper Assam. A combination of superior rice cultivation technology and a system of irrigation along with reclamation of land using dikes and embankment helped the Ahoms to establish the initial state structures. During the 16th century, coins were introduced in the Ahom kingdom, and the kings also adopted the Mughal system of land measurement. Thus, we saw that the tribes and pastoral nomads forms an important part of the history of India, weaving a beautiful story through their customs and rituals that makes them different from the rest of the population.